If you're trying to become a great Mahayana practitioner, what is it that makes you a Mahayana practitioner instead of a Theravada practitioner or just an ordinary person doing ordinary things? Well, if you ask Atisha in Atisha's Lamp for the Path, which is like this incredible text he wrote for the Tibetans to distill the entire wisdom of the Nalanda tradition, you know. They had a library that rivaled the Library of Alexandria. He distilled this entire corpus down to a few pithy statements. And he said there are 3 levels of motivation, just 3. If you're a practitioner, the first you could divide maybe into 2, which is basically you don't think much about the next life at all, and you're just trying to sort of live in this life as best you can, and to not hurt anyone and use Buddhist principles, and that's fine. That's sort of one level, but the most basic level. And then he said the next level of Buddhist practitioner is someone who's aimed at future lives, where their main motivation that carries them, that influences every decision they make, is that they're trying to create good karma and avoid negative karma, so that they can have a better rebirth. Because this is something the Buddha said is possible and is worth doing for a number of reasons. If you don't complete your practice in this lifetime, it would be nice to have another lifetime where your situation was at least as good as this one. So that's going to require good karma, and it's going to require avoiding negative karma. So that's the first sort of level of real practitioner, according to Atisha. So when that's part of your motivation and intention every day, you're at the first level of real practice. The next level is renunciation. What does that mean? Renunciation doesn't mean that you don't own anything. That's physical renunciation. But as the Buddha described in the Pali Canon, even if you're attached to your robes as a monk, then you don't have renunciation. If you're attached to your bald head as a monk, you don't have renunciation. So renunciation means that you have looked at the suffering situation of samsara that occurs from lifetime to lifetime, and you are intent on definitely emerging from samsara, which is the literal translation of renunciation, definite emergence. In other words, you want to attain nirvana. So when your main motivation for most of the things that you do, most of the time, is that you must attain nirvana. And the Buddha said, that motivation should be so powerful. It's like a person whose hair or clothing is on fire, right? So this is not like a subtle thing that's, you think about occasionally. That this is a powerful motivation driving your actions from moment to moment. Then, at that point, you're a Theravada practitioner, right? And then what is it that makes you a Mahayana practitioner? It's when, from moment to moment, as if your hair was on fire, there's a powerful drive to free all sentient beings from suffering and to attain awakening in order to free all sentient beings from suffering. And that's what mainly drives your motivation. So in brief, it's not just that you believe that enlightenment is possible, for example, and therefore whatever, oh yes, there are Buddhas and I'd like to become a Buddha. No, it's that you have this powerful moment-by-moment intention and motivation to attain awakening in order to remove the suffering of all sentient beings. That is what makes you a Mahayana practitioner. How do you develop that? Well, you go through rumination meditations. And so when you look at the Shantideva Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Shantideva's whole text is just a bunch of rumination meditations, right?